Today we're talking about Schengen visa, how you can successfully apply for a Schengen visa. Now, the Schengen area, like if you apply for a visa to one country that is part of the Schengen area, you get to travel around, the 25 or 26 other countries. I think there are about 26 now, other countries. I'll explain. If you apply for a visa to France, France will give you a Schengen visa from France. And with that visa, you can travel across other countries within the Schengen areas. Now, there's a list of countries, which I said is about 25, but I'll just check. So I'm going to read out the countries so you know the advantages you have if you apply for a Schengen visa. You'll be able to travel through Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Estonia, Greece, Iceland, Italy, Malta, the Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, including and a whole lot of them. So if you go to one country and they give it to you, then you can travel without borders around this other countries. Basically, what you would need would be your flight ticket, and within the borders, they seldom check, for like if you have a visa, because they believe, okay, if you've been to one, then you can go to the other. But then that doesn't mean those checks can be random. Like they don't have borders where you stop and say, oh no, you need to stamp. You don't get stamped in, because you can travel freely around that area because they are part of the Schengen area, the member states. So coming here, I applied to France. I applied to them for many reasons. First, I do have a travel history in France. Like I have been here before. I have applied, to them several times, and then they have granted, my visa application. So it just made sense, for me to go back there because, if you have a history, you can go anywhere, like I said. But for me, I decided to go there. And sometimes they have seasons, the French embassy, sometimes they can be really generous. Like there's some embassies that if you go and say you are traveling for 7 days, they would give you 7 days. What I think France is a bit generous, when it comes to, visa application. My visa application, I don't know about other people, maybe you might have similar experience. So I prefer to use them. So today I'm going to be talking about how you can apply for a Schengen visa, but we would be focusing on the French embassy. It would be similar to other embassies, but they might just have a few requirements that you might need to provide, but generally it would just be the same. So if you are, like I said, if you apply to one, you have access, to all. The steps would include: you complete your visa application form, you provide the supporting documents. We're going to talk about that in details. Your supporting document, and then submit your application and wait for a decision. Now I'm going to take you step by step because I want you to successfully apply. I want you to successfully apply for your visa so you can travel. So the first thing you do is that you need to identify the type of visa that you need. Do you need a business visa? Do you need a tourist visa? Do you need a student visa? You need to identify what you need. Because my blog is about tourism, I will focus on tourism. Like if you want to find out about others, then you need to go to the blog. I'll probably be able to share articles there. Or if you ask me specific questions, then I can, share specific articles, to answer those questions. But I will focus on tourism because I have a travel blog and I'm a tourism promoter. So first you need to identify the visa that you need. And the second step would be for you to visit the visa application portal. I'm going to share the link for the French embassy here because you would need to complete that form online and then print it out. In determining the country to apply to, you should always apply to the main destination that you'll be spending, time in. Now, it doesn't mean that when you get there, you can't go anywhere else, but you do want to apply to the main destination that you'll be going. Because if you apply to a second destination, then you need to provide an itinerary for that particular destination. And if that's not the main purpose of your trip, you don't want to mess things, for yourself. It doesn't mean that if I'm going to Italy, I cannot apply to France, but I need to show and provide an itinerary that shows that I would also be spending time in France. But it's always advisable if you're going for an event or going for something in a particular country, you're going for a wedding in Italy, then apply to Italy. If you want to apply to French, then France, then make sure that you do have an itinerary that shows that you would be spending time in France before you proceed to Italy. Now, should you disclose? A lot of people will tell you don't disclose, but I will tell you disclose. Disclose. Just make it believable, because really, if you're not, unless you plan to spend 1 month in Paris, but then have activities that would show, would make them, convince them that you're actually there for good. Because Schengen visa, is one of the difficult, visas to get. Like, I hear people complain, they're easier countries, and I'm telling you that from experience. You might have a different opinion, but I'm telling you from experience that Schengen is one of the difficult ones, and it actually explains why. Because you have access to 26 countries, either 25 or 26. You have access to all these countries, so they're a bit strict, and they want to know that you're here for good. You complete the visa application form, and then you compile the relevant documents. It's very important. The first thing you need to attach is an insurance certificate. For most Schengen countries, they would ask you for a travel and health insurance, and it's easy. I always find that most times people just go and get like a fake one. Like, why would you want to get a fake one if eventually you're going to travel? Travel insurance, especially now during COVID, you do want to travel, have a travel insurance. Like, I have like an annual travel insurance, and I don't spend a lot of money. In Nigeria, maybe I pay I have a worldwide coverage, and I pay maybe about 30 something thousand for it. So go to a reputable insurance company and request for travel insurance. You can buy the one that covers the EU. Normally they would give you there's a limit. Maybe I think it's maybe for the EU, for the Schengen visa, it's usually like maybe 150 that covers up to 150,000 euros. But then your insurer would advise you, go to a reputable insurance company and buy insurance from them. If you work with a company, get your office to write an introduction letter. Your introduction letter that just says that it has your name, your passport number, and your intention to visit this country, and that maybe you have your leave has been approved from this day to that day, and you intend to apply for a visa to France, for vacation, and that of course your company should vouch for you, that you are you're trustworthy. If you work for yourself, then that's simple as well. You write, you get, if you have a board, if you have a company where you work for yourself, you get your board to write a letter, just introducing you, as, let's say the MD, or as a director, or whatever position you hold in that company, and that you intend to visit that company. If it's you, then you write an introduction letter saying that you are the MD of this company. This is what you do. Attach your corporate documents, that shows that you are a principal officer, or a principal, shareholder, or a director, or whoever in that company. Write that letter. You can write that introduction letter for yourself, introducing your company. And then, of course, like I said, you need to attach your corporate documents just to convince them that, yes, whatever you're saying is true. So you need to include that. And then also you would also need like your bank statements. It's tricky with Schengen countries. You need proof of funds. If you have money, then they would look at you different. So have a 6 months, 3 months. I think they usually do like 3 months bank statement that shows whatever, that proves whatever position you declare in your form, in your application form, and in your letter. Now, what do I mean by that? If you say you're a salary earner, have a 3 months bank statement that shows monthly payment of your income in that place and more, because you do want to have money in there, like calculate, like I always say, people always ask me, oh, how much do I need to have? Do I need 10 million? Like that doesn't make sense. If you are traveling if you say you're traveling for 1 week, estimate the amount of money it would take. Let's say you're traveling for 1 week, and for each day you're paying 100 euros for the hotel. So you know that for 7 days, you say you're traveling, you're going to be spending 700 euros in for your accommodation. Estimate how much you will need to eat. Let's say you eat 2 meals a day. Let's assume that you're going to spend 20 euros per meal. This is just an estimate. So that's about, let's just assume 50 euros pocket money per day. Your tickets, have an assessment of how much it would cost you. Okay, let's just say your ticket will maybe cost you another 500 to 1,000 euros. Just an estimate. And then so we have 1,000. How much? 1,700 plus whatever and pocket money. So let's say roughly we were about maybe 2,000 euros, and then maybe another pocket money 500 euros. Just an estimate. You do want to have that money sitting in your account, just so they know you can afford it. That's the best at best. No, sorry, not that's worst case scenario. You do want to have that money sitting there in your account if you're making that visa application. So ensure that you have whatever position you declare, you are able to, your bank statement reflects, that position. So you need your bank statement, in there. You need evidence of a hotel reservation. I always use booking.com, and I don't necessarily have to pay for the hotel. I know people would say you have to pay. I don't pay. Like, I do not pay. I go to Booking because I'm a Genius member on Booking. That's the platform I use to make my hotel reservation. I would include a link in the description box so you can look at it. In Booking, it's so easy. It's user friendly. You can, adjust the search button to whatever budget you have, and then you can adjust, the search button, to just find where to stay before you look for. You book for an accommodation. It's always best to go online and check for the best areas to stay, especially if you're traveling solo or a first time, or if you're traveling with family. Like, if you're traveling alone and then you want to explore the city, you don't want to be taking a taxi, or you don't want to have to dealing with the local transportation, then you do want to stay as close to the city center as possible. So if you're looking for an accommodation, it makes sense to be close to the city center. And that's also another thing that people would imagine that, okay, I live in Lagos, Nigeria, and then someone says they're traveling to Lagos to spend time on the island exploring, and then they give me an accommodation that they're staying in Ikorodu. It's far from the main attraction. Okay, let's say they want to attend an event in Ekwe and they are staying in Shongota. Like, okay, maybe that's even close. Okay, that's even close. The point I'm trying to make is that if you're going to be if most of your activities is going to be around a particular area, then it makes sense to search for hotels within that same area, which is also what the interviewing officer would be looking out for. If you say you're there for a first time, you want to explore all the sites, and then they now find that, okay, your hotel accommodation is like 2 hours away from the city center. It doesn't make sense. So go online. I know that sometimes hotels around the city center might be pricey, because most times maybe that they are targeted at other travelers. The locals might probably be living out, in the suburbs, and that's okay. But you as a tourist, or if you're on vacation, you want to stay where you have easy access to the main attraction, unless maybe you're just looking for a quiet time away, then that actually makes sense. But generally speaking, I'm just saying, go online, research, and find out places, hotels that are close to where you want to be. And then once you have that information, you when you get to Booking, it's easy for you to adjust your search to those areas. So go there and book your accommodation. Book an accommodation that is let's say has that is refundable if you have to pay. But like I said, I don't pay. I just look for one that has a long cancellation time. For example, if I'm booking 2 months ahead, most of them would allow you to cancel up till 7 days before your trip. And then, of course, if you're planning your trip, you should plan your trip way ahead of time. That would give you time to cancel the accommodation if really it's not what you want. But if it's where you want to stay, then you can go ahead and leave your accommodation. And if they grant you the visa, you use it. But then pick, one that is you can cancel if they don't give it, because there's no guarantee that they will give you the visa. So why do you want to get denied a visa and then have to deal with paying for an accommodation that you did not use? So spend time and search for it. You say, oh, I got there, I did not. No, you need to sit there and read the fine print. That's how it works. It's not rocket science, So do you need an invitation letter from a sponsor when applying for a Schengen visa? Because I have never submitted any, I will tell you, no, it is not necessary. But of course, if you're staying with a family, or you're staying with someone, or you have someone with a good, I don't know, backing, someone who is reputable enough to give you an invitation letter, then of course, get one. But most of the places I go to, I don't really know people there. And even if I know people, I don't know that I am traveling to go, be with them. I'm traveling on my own. Then if I get to visit them, then that's completely different. So I always make my application without invitation letters. So no, you do not need an invitation letter, because I have never submitted an invitation letter for any of my visa applications. And trust me, I have traveled around most continents, 5 continents of the world. I have never submitted an invitation letter. So this is just to show you, this is proof that you do not necessarily need an invitation to visit for your visa application. You do not need a sponsor. You can be a tourist. My hotel reservation, my self-introduction letter, and my itinerary usually just covers the need for an invitation letter or a sponsor. So no, you don't need one. But if you do have one and you think it can help your application, then of course you should definitely submit it. And then with Schengen visas, they usually request for like a flight itinerary. It's important because they want to see, they just want to see, if you say you're traveling, they want to see it on paper. Okay, what is the plan? And it's easy to get. If you have a travel agent, this is where they come in. Some of them, if you have a travel agent that you've been loyal to, they can do it for you for free. You don't have to pay for it. Basically, the embassy just wants to see your plan. Now, what does that mean? If you say you're traveling on 21st to return on the 30th, they want to see that your flight departs on 21st and then returns on the 30th. So you don't have to pay for your ticket. Like, I've paid for a ticket before and then I was denied a visa, and that was very painful because the airline did not refund 100%. They would take a surcharge. It doesn't make sense, and it's very unfair. It is very unfair to make someone pay for a ticket and then deny them a visa. So I would tell you, no, don't pay for it. They want to see an itinerary, so give that to them. But you cannot pay for a ticket and then deny the visa. They're not going to tell you, sorry, you pay for visa fee. They won't refund your visa fee and then you will still pay for ticket. No. Life shouldn't be that difficult. Don't pay. Get your agent to give you an itinerary that you can work with. And your itinerary has to reflect every other thing that you're doing. Another thing I always advise people to do is to include a detailed plan. What do I mean? Like a tour plan. It's an itinerary as well. You're going there for 10 days. Include a detailed plan showing what you're doing every day of the 10 days. By the time you have all that and then you have a ticket, it makes them understand, okay, this person has a plan and we should probably grant them a visa. So always include a detailed plan for every day that you would spend in the Schengen area. If you are planning to go, let's say you are applying to France and then you want to go to Spain on day 6, just say day 6, depart Paris for Barcelona. Day 9, depart Barcelona for Paris. Day 10, depart Paris for Lagos. That's how you do it, Now, you might ask, oh, if I submit a plan, do I have to follow a plan like that? Come on now. Man proposes, but God disposes. It's a plan. You're allowed to adjust, but the idea is just let them see what your plans are. You know, we all know that plans do change, and those people, it's not rocket science. They don't exist out of space. They know life happens. So make it believable. And then how long before your trip should you apply? I think the Schengen visa, like the French visa, allows up to 3 months before your travel date. So I always say apply within 2 months, because if it's the ordinary application, I think it takes like 15 working days. But if you're paying for the premium service, you might get it in a week. So you can apply up to 3 months before your trip, which I think is the same even with other embassies. You know, just try and give yourself that period, because it would also help you plan. You know, you don't want to apply the month you're traveling and then you're waiting for you're panicking, your visa is not out. Oh, you need to travel. And by the time your visa is out, you probably need to go figure out how to get tickets. And then, you know, once you're getting closer to the travel date, tickets get expensive. So I'm a planner. I like to plan ahead. So I start planning 3 months before my trip. And of course, you know, if you have to, let's say, arrange your affairs in a way that, okay, to ensure that you're all ready, you need time to apply. So I would say 3 months is a good time, you know, to start your application. Another thing I always tell people, always accompany your visa application with a cover letter. It is how I do it. Like, I've been denied a Schengen visa before, and then the only way I could express the way I felt was through a letter, by writing a letter. So I wrote a cover letter to the consulate general, or I don't know, whoever. And then just explaining, you know, because I was denied on that popular ground where they say justification for the purpose of the intended stay was not provided. So I wrote a letter, a 2-page letter. Now it doesn't have to be so long, but it had to be 2 page because I had so much to say. So I wrote it in 2 pages, and then told them why I think it was justifiable for me to get a visa. And did I get it? Oh yes, I got it. I'm in Geneva right now, you know. So I'm saying, if you follow this steps that I have provided, then, you know, you would stand a better chance of getting a visa. Now, when people say, oh, they can promise you a visa, if you have people who you think can promise you a visa, people tell you, okay, maybe I don't know how they do it, but I don't really rely so much on that, because I still think it's gambling. So if I'm going to gamble, let me gamble doing the right thing. Let me do the right thing and then submit and gamble that I would get it or not. Because there are times where maybe you've done everything you need to do and then you still get denied a visa. It just means that, oh, I don't know how that works. I would like someone there to tell me how exactly, you know, why that happens. But it can happen that you can do all these things and then still be denied. But it is difficult. If you do all these things and then you have a very good travel record, then you would be granted a visa. For a virgin passport, I don't know. I don't know. It wouldn't be the friendliest applications to make if you do have a virgin passport. But it doesn't mean they will not give you, but it would not be the friendliest circumstance. As in, you know, if you have a virgin passport, chances, you know, it's just 50-50. It would depend on the circumstances, like why you're going, you know, the circumstance, you know, surrounding it would differ for A and B. So I would say, if you want to apply to Schengen, have a good travel record, as in maybe go somewhere else before you go. But if you have pressing, compelling reasons to be there, then of course they would see, and you're able to present your case genuinely, then of course they would be able to they would grant you the visa if they're convinced that you're there for good. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope that this was useful, and I also hope that I didn't you know, keep anything out. If there are questions that you need to ask, like I said, you can drop a comment, I will respond to them, or you can send me an email. My email would be in the description box, or you can read more about it on the blog. You know, I would have an article that you can read. So thank you very much, and see you next time.